Tech sales is one of the fastest way to reach and go beyond a six-figure salary, yet it's massively underrated. Everyone is chasing consulting, investment banking, venture capital, private equity. Meanwhile, very few people realize the power of sales, especially tech sales, which combine business, communication, and technology. Hey everyone, my name is Matteo and I work in tech sales at AWS. And today I will explain to you why tech sales is such an incredible opportunity that a few people are taking advantage of and whether it's the right career path for you compared to more traditional ones. So guys, let me begin by sharing my story and the reason why I chose tech sales. So since I was a teenager and later on during uni, I had the passion for entrepreneurship and I have built 3 small businesses, one of which was quite successful. And all of these businesses started with one thing, which was sales. I had a marketing agency where I had to start doing sales for my services. I had an e-commerce that started because I was able to make sales of my own product. So everything started with sales. And that's how I discovered, my passion for entrepreneurship and sales and how important in business sales is. So after finishing uni, I decided that I wanted to learn more sales. And that's why I joined a fintech startup in a sales role position. I was one of the first hires there. So I was doing not just sales, but a lot of stuff. But my core role was sales. And after 2 years there, I decided that it was time to level up my sales game and join big tech sales, because I knew that was the environment where big deals were happening, especially in technology. I really realized that sales is the underlying, stepping stone to entrepreneurship, because if you can do sales, you can actually build a successful business. And so as one of my dreams is one day to build a tech company that has a real impact on the world, I have understood that sales and mastering sales is really the foundation for every business. And so for me, this is the main reason why I chose tech sales. Okay, guys, now let's jump straight into the pros and cons of tech sales so you can get a full picture of what this job and career look like. So guys, let's start from the pros. The first pro for me and the most important one is that you can really learn how to do sales and complex sales actually. Because with tech sales, you don't learn, how to do low ticket sales. You learn actually how to do high ticket complex sales, because in tech sales, the company that will employ you will be B2B companies that sell high ticket software, high ticket cloud solutions. So basically, you will be responsible for driving revenue and pipeline of strategic contract deals. So you will learn basically how to interact with multiple stakeholders in your accounts, meaning like the companies that you will sell to, how to orchestrate, the negotiation from the prospecting phase when you do the first cold outreach and cold email, how you progress the deal and move it to, a technical validation or launch stage, and eventually how to retain the customer over the years and make sure the revenue keeps coming in from your customers. And as I mentioned before, learning how to do sales properly is a skill that you will be able to move wherever you want, whether it's the company you're working at right now or any future company. So it's a recession-proof skill that it will be always in demand. The market will always need closers, because especially now with AI, it's much faster to build products, but as more products are out, it's much harder to close and secure deals. So the market will always need good closers. So if you position yourself as someone that can really do complex technical sales, you won't have any job problem. And one day you can decide to be employed, and one day you can also decide to be an entrepreneur and build something for yourself. Pro number 2, which probably interests you a lot, is that the salary ramp up can be pretty fast. So because sales and especially tech sales is very meritocratic and it's really, about your performance. So if you're performing well, you will be promoted quite fast from BDR, business development representative, to AE, account executive, enterprise account executive, account manager, and many more roles. The company, if sees you that you are performing well, they want to retain you. They don't want you to go to the competition. So if you do your job well, in a few years, you can reach multiple six figures, 200, 300K salaries, depending on your geographic region. The US pays more than EU, But also in EU, you can ramp up your salary. So I know people that after a few years of tech sales experience are earning 150 to 100K in Europe, which is a very, very good salary, especially in Europe. And in the US, there are reps earning 300, 400K, even 500,000 per year. And of course, there are always, top performers, enterprise account executive with, 10, 15 years of experience that have an income of multiple millions of dollars per year. So really, sales is a career that is uncapped on how much you can earn, because as long as you can sell high ticket, complex technology, there will always be companies that will pay you a lot. And yeah, so that's pretty much good. Pro number 3, from what I've seen in my experience, is that work-life balance can actually be pretty good compared to traditional industries like consulting, investment banking. Because if you do your job well and you know what to focus on and cut all the distraction, your work week will be, around 45, max 50 hours per week, and not even reach 80 to 100 hours of work week. So you can really have a good lifestyle with tech sales, especially if you are employed. So if this is something important to you, well, this is a good pro in my opinion for tech sales. Typically, you won't work weekends because customers are not responding on weekends, which is very good. So you keep your weekend free. And yes, sales has pressure, so it's important to deliver, and you will find times where pressure is much higher, maybe at the end of the quarter or at the end of the year, where you have to hit quota. But in general, you can keep a nice lifestyle for yourself and keep on delivering good results if you know what to focus on. Pro number 4, if you're passionate about change and tech, like myself, especially now with AI, tech is evolving faster than ever. And right now, if you work in tech sales, you are literally in the driving seat of the adoption, because most probably you will be selling a product that has some kind of features, some kind of AI features inside, or you will be selling AI native product at this stage. So you would have a real impact into the AI adoption. And so if that's something that interests you, well, this is another pro in tech sales. And the great thing about working in tech is that you're putting yourself in a vehicle for success. What do I mean by that? If you see the last decade, what has carried the stock market and the overall economy, stock market performance was technology and tech companies. And there was not AI, 10 years ago and so on. And with AI, this is probably going to happen also for the next decade. So the stock market will still be carried in the performance of the overall economy by technology. And so this means that when you start a sales career or any job, you can either choose to work, for example, in an industry that is declining. Let's say, for example, that you are selling cars in Germany, right? The industry right now is declining. It's not probably the best industry to start a sales career in because the industry is declining. So you might work as hard as you want. And the picture that I like to always think about is like you're rowing with your boat, you're working extremely hard, but you are working against current. So eventually a wave will hit you, which is the industry that is declining. Whereas if you're working in an industry that is growing, let's say like tech, you can see it as like you are rowing, so you're working hard, but you have the current on your side. So you are lifted up by the industry that is growing and the wave is supporting you. So this will exponentially boost your career growth and results in terms of earnings and career progression. So this is something that I always like to keep in mind. And I see sometimes people forget about, the industry they choose, as it's extremely important, because sometimes it's not, the hardest working person that grows faster in the career, but sometimes it's really about to be in the right vehicle at the right time. And this is the perfect time to be into tech sales. And last pro that I wanted to mention you that I think is very important is that people in tech, especially in tech sales, are typically very nice. So there's not like a nasty culture or toxic culture that you may see like in finance, banking, and so on, where people are not nice to each other. In tech, typically people are very nice and supportive, and this really goes a long way in your day-to-day work. So this is a pro that I think it's very important to keep in mind. Great, now let's move on to the cons, so you can have a full picture of also the cons that you get if you choose a career in tech sales. So con number 1 is that, especially if you are in an account executive role, a substantial part of your total compensation is variable because it depends on your performance. So this can be, you can see this as a pro, as a con, but yeah, it's really tied to your performance. So you will have an OTE compensation part of which is a base salary and plus get a bonus, right? You have to keep this in mind. And when you are evaluating between offers, you have multiple ways to mitigate that risk. And you don't want to be naive and, just choose a 180K OTE compensation over a, 140 just with these, two numbers. It doesn't really make sense, because what you have to evaluate is really the first thing, the kind of product that you will be selling. Is it a product that actually sells well, has product market fit, is growing, is a product that you like, and also how long the deal cycle is. Are you selling to enterprise? So you're selling, deal cycles of 6 to 12 months, or are you selling to SMBs? So deal cycle of couple of weeks or 1 month. It really depends on your personal preference, but you have to keep in mind that maybe if you are in enterprise, you might have a 200K ODE, but maybe your compensation is tied to just a few customers, and if you're not able to close them, well, then might be a risk for you. And also what is really important is finding the numbers of how many reps hit quota, right? There is a website called RepView. They're not sponsoring this video, so I'm just referring you guys to that website, but it's well made. So what does RepView show you is the percentage of reps that hit, for example, 100% in quota, that hit 100% in attainment. So what does that mean? Let's say that, for example, you get 2 offers as an account executive. You get a 150K OD compensation with an 80K base plus 70K variable, but you realize that only 30% of the reps hit quota, meaning that it's kind of hard to reach the 150K total compensation. And so what this means is that the company that is hiring you is making it unreasonable, difficult to reach the 100% attainment that equivals to 150K ODE. Whereas you get an offer B for, let's say, 120K with always an 80K base, but just a 40K variable, but you see that 90% of reps hit quota, which makes sense. So it means that, the company is setting goals in the appropriate way, and the reps that get hired actually achieve the goal. And most of these companies then have, an uncapped OTE, meaning if you overperform the 100%, you will earn more because you will be closing more deals. But, this is being the outlier, being an overachiever and overperformer. But you always have to consider, as, the base and the variable, also the percentage of reps that hit quota. This is very important. Now, guys, I would like to give you a perspective comparing tech sales to a traditional career path that always seem very attractive to business students and young professionals, but that I think are actually not that great. So let's compare tech sales to consulting or investment banking, for example, which are, two of the most popular paths that business students go after too. And this is why I think tech sales has really a great opportunity. So let's start by comparing these 3 different careers and jobs by working hours. So in tech sales, you can expect a work week between 40 to 50 hours per week. I would say 45 is a good average, depending on how well you perform and how well you do your job. But you actually have a very good lifestyle. You don't have to work on the weekends for the most. And yeah, you can keep, a kind of a traditional 9 to 5, maybe with a few extras here and there. And so, yeah, work-life balance can be really, really great. Whereas in consulting, you have weeks of 60 to 70 hours per week. You're always traveling to customers. So that can be really quite stressing. And investment banking, that's even way more, to 80 to 100 hours per week. It's a non-stop grind, and your personal life kind of sucks. So comparing hours to work-life balance, tech sales wins hands down. Now, in terms of earning potential, all these 3 paths can be really rewarding, especially in the long run, but they have skills and mechanisms that are very different between each other. So investment banking for sure is the one that has the highest ceilings, especially senior VPs and directors can go well into the 7 figures, but this might take 10 to 15 years. And it's extremely competitive, political, and demanding, And the most interesting thing to me is that at the end of the day, the managing directors and the people who really make big bucks in, for example, investment banking, are the one doing the sales. They are sales guys at the end of the day. They are bringing projects and deals, M&A deals, IPO deals to the firm. So their job is sales. And this lets me think that the most important skill at those high levels is actually sales. And if you look into consulting, it's pretty much similar. So you start as an analyst, then associate, manager, and so on. But at the end of the day, the guys who earn the most are the partners, the equity partners of the firm, and they are responsible for bringing enterprise projects and sales to the firm, because the analysts, the associates, and the managers, they need a project to work on, and that project has been brought by the partner who is doing sales all day long. And partner can, earn 300, 600K plus, depending on the firm. But you see, like, the most important skill, or the skill that actually make you earn the biggest bucks, is sales. So partners are doing sales, the managing directors, investment banking, are doing sales, and they're doing sales after 10 or 15 years of grind. Whereas with tech sales, you actually start with the number one skill in business, sales, directly from the get-go, because you are starting sales immediately. So you don't have to wait a decade. And if you're well performing, in a few years, you can earn an OTE of 200K plus, and in a decade, 500, a million per year, depending on the kind of deals that you are closing for the company. So the ceiling is very high, and it's really potentially uncapped depending on how well you perform. And I would say the ramp up, if you are a good performer, is much faster in tech sales than in investment banking and consulting, where you have steps that are predefined that you have to reach, and they don't have uncapped salaries. So if you're looking for a career where strong performance translates into compensation, well, tech sales is the right vehicle to be into. And finally, number 3, we already talked about the skill relevance. But if you compare early stage of the 3 different careers, with IB you start doing financial modeling, or if you are in M&A, you are looking for targets for M&A deals for your customers. You're not doing any kind of sales, right? In consulting, you become very good in Excel analysis, slide making, and critical thinking and so on. But again, no sales at the beginning, just maybe after 10 years. Whereas in tech sales, you start sales directly from the get-go. You start interacting with customers. You learn negotiation, persuasion, and lifelong skills that you can bring anywhere in the world. So my bottom line is really that tech sales is a winner if we compare to other traditional careers that are often seen as more, prestige or whatever. What I think you should do is really choose IB or consulting if you're really passionate about what you're doing, and not for the prestige, not for the kind of bullshit that might interest you, but only if you're really passionate about what you do. So if you are thinking like, I hate sales, I don't want to do sales, I really like doing projects for clients, doing financial modeling and so on, then IB or consulting is the right way. For example, one of my best friends, he is probably the person that I know that is most passionate about consulting. He's super humble. He doesn't give a shit about prestige. He really loves what he does. And so for him, consulting is the right vehicle, is the right career path. And I'm so happy to see him thriving there. And he's one of the smartest people that I know. So, and what I think is the best is that he's really choosing this kind of career because he really enjoys the day-to-day. He really likes the process. So to conclude this video, tech sales is, in my opinion, one of the best career paths for young professionals, and yet one of the most underrated. You get high earning potential, lifelong skills, and an exposure to fast growing industries. And I see all of this as the perfect foundation for entrepreneurship. So if you're ambitious, curious, and you like customer interaction, this might be the right career for you. So guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments down below your thoughts and your opinions. And if you would like to see more tech sales videos on the channel, and see you into the next video.